right, everyone. Welcome to episode 100 pre-show. What a week we've already had again for this amount of news that's coming out of Bungie about Lightfall and the year ahead. It's been pretty good so far. I kind of have gotten maybe overhyped, and now I'm on the other side of the hill of hype before the game has released. Probably getting into a little bit of that. Just basically talking about generalizing and summarizing everything we kind of seen this past week and what we're excited about heading into Lightfall. Joe Blackburn gave us the state of destiny for this next year. We got changes to weapon crafting and how it's going to look at moving forward. We got the Vidoc to talk about, and we have a couple new purchases that you can make in Destiny that might bypass and save some of your time, and I'm sure that will be debated a little bit there. Definitely, we're not going to agree upon everything that we've seen this week in Destiny and what we're looking forward to. So, outside of Destiny, I'm pretty sure I piggybacked somebody's bet or two last night with Kentucky and won my bet too. So that was pretty cool. And some sports gambling wise, got some good news the last day. So now I'm needing Tiger to make the cut this weekend. The Genesis is looking rough right now. Don't know if that's going to happen.
I saw they birdied the first hole, but that was it. Yeah. That's all that I've seen.
And then I think I put a little long shot for Max Homa to hit a hole in one. So really hoping for that.
What did that pay out?
I think it was like, let's see here. If I get the load. I did whenever Max Homa won 3 weeks ago. I had him to win, or like a month ago.
Yeah, I think he was like I think he was, like plus 2,500 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, Max Homa hit a hole in one is plus 10,000.
Huh. Plus 10,000.
Yeah. And then somehow Tiger was able to pull out a win. It was plus 13,000. Put something down on that too. Oh.
I like the thumbnail. I like the thumbnail this week.
Yeah. Spent a little extra time on that one for the 100th episode.
Yeah.
Man, I've been giving a peace offering.
What?
Are we live already?
Yeah.
On the pre-show? Nice.
I'd like to hear about your peace offering though.
Yeah, hold on. Let me plug in my phone. Although I've been looking at getting a Rebel T7 for the streams.
Yeah.
But I gotta look up all that nonsense. Spicy wonton soup, baby. Look at that. Ooh.
Yeah. That sounds good.
My eyes are doing that weird auto eye contact thing again.
Yeah. I don't like it.
So for those of you unaware, I use like the NVIDIA broadcast to like blur behind me out. And there's a thing on there that it's like in beta that does like eye contact, that even if you're not looking at the screen, it makes you appear you're looking at the screen. So I turned it on, and I've had it on for like 3 or 4 weeks now. And every once in a while, my eyes just do this weird thing to where they're looking like in the actual direction that I'm looking, and then they just weirdly go towards the camera. So Chad, are you in the Zencaster yet?
Not yet. There
Oh.
it is. Popping in now.
The freaking bet I lost last weekend for golf.
Wiggle.
I had Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas to be both in the top 5. So
Yeah.
Justin Spieth needed to birdie his 18th hole. So he hit his third shot or his second shot, and it landed about 3 feet from the hole. I was like, yes. Jordan Spieth makes that putt 99 times out of 100, and he freaking yanks it to the left.
He putted it.
Oh my gosh, he makes that putt. So in his freaking sleep, yanked it.
Buddy, I got stat corrected out of like $1,097 off a $10 bet like 2 weeks ago.
No.
I needed Markel Fultz to get a double-double. Paolo Banchero
Yeah.
to get a double-double. Like the Magic to beat maybe the Bucks and something else. So Fultz picks up his double-double like in the first half. And Banchero had 8 rebounds going into the fourth quarter. And he got his 9th one. And then I fell asleep, woke back up,
Yeah.
look at the ESPN app, and he has 10 rebounds.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap.
Yeah.
I just won like almost $1,100 off a $10 bet. So then I, after like 20 minutes, I'm like, why isn't that money deposited? Like, why hasn't it cashed yet? And then I looked and they stat corrected. So he only had 9 rebounds. And yeah, that was after that I took like a week off.
Yeah, that'd make me sick.
I do want to say this now, especially since we are on the pre-show. Has the I don't like that you're staring into my soul right now, Ryan.
It makes you feel any better. I'm really not.
I know you're not. But Ghost Nvidia Ryan is. Has our league ended? I haven't looked at it
a long time
since
ago.
the last time Jared said something. Yeah,
like-
I haven't. How many weeks ago?
8 to 10.
Yeah, it's
Probably.
it was in December. Yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering. So how far ahead were you in winning, Jared?
I came in second.
You came in second. Who won?
Shifty.
Oh,
Were you
okay.
not here for the whole?
He
we
just checks out.
we
when
had
we
to have a
talk about
ruling.
it. He just checks
Mm.
out.
It's true. I got stuff to think
All
about.
right. I guess so. Are you guys ready? We'll get it started.
Yeah.
Sure. Why not?
Eyes up, Guardians. We are live for episode 100 of the Conqueror's Corner podcast. Today is February the 16th, 2023. I'm the Destiny bad boy, NotRyanFox, and I am here with my fire team, who all of you CCBs know by now. Jared?
Hey everyone. Doing those bounty stacking, doing those ascendant challenges. You cannot find me in Nightmare Hunts stacking bounties. I'll tell you that. That's where I draw the line at. Just checking off. I think I got to do a few more comp games to finish up my last seasonal challenge that I need for that lump sum of Bright Dust. And I'm trying to absorb all of this hype that Bungie's putting out for Lightfall.
And the chronicler himself, chadocero.
I definitely did the Nightmare Hunt weeklies 5 weeks ago. Because I knew if I didn't, I would never ever do them. And let me tell you, it wasn't worth it. Yeah, definitely got some real big stuff happened on Tuesday. I'm gonna save the lore that came out from the lore book. It's kind of like a final poem from Rasputin to Anna, personally. Until next week, so we can just end off the season that way. We're gonna do part 1 of Elsie today, part 2 next week, and then end off with some Rasputin.
I thought she was going to off herself watching that cutscene. But remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, that you can take us on the road via Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast services. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, click the bell, turn on notifications, yada, yada, yada. Follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. Send us a bunch of friend requests so we can play games together. We have so much to talk about, as Jared kind of mentioned. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, let's listen to our intro music from everybody's favorite Link, who you can find on Twitter at LinkOfTimeG.
All right, everyone. So if you was on Twitter this last weekend, you see Joe Blackburn post on Twitter a post-it note saying like 5,300 words tomorrow. That was on Monday. It dropped, and he kind of is the State of the Union address for Destiny for this next coming year and a little bit going forward in the future. So the first thing that he brought up in Lightfall in the year ahead is expanding players' imaginations, and they kind of want the gears inside the players' heads to start turning for what's new that's going to be happening in the game and ways to interact. And the first stage of that is in Season of Defiance, which will launch alongside Lightfall. So that is Season 21. And in there, we're no longer getting umbral engrams. Instead, we'll be getting seasonal engrams that the vendors will hold. So there's no longer taking up an inventory spot. You don't have to like claim it and then focus it. It's kind of just like how Iron Banner's set up this way. No, Iron Banner you have to take it. It's how Shaxx is set up. It's how Shaxx, you have all his engrams sitting there with him. If you want to focus a weapon, you can just straight up focus it as long as you have one on him. Also, for the season, we'll no longer have to have large stacks of seasonal currency to unlock the chest at the end of the activity, to up in the rewards from the chests, and instead they're dropping these keys that will drop more randomly, but it'll just be more worth it when we finally have a key to unlock the chest at the end of an activity. We should expect fewer vendor upgrades as going through a seasonal upgrades. So it's usually pretty typical of like a 3x7. So we usually have, and now going forward and depending on certain seasons, we might not have one at all, but we will have one for Season of Defiance. So I think that's something that a lot of feedback that we've given Bungie in this last, 3-ish seasons, I would say. We kind of just got tired of the same blueprint season after season.
Yeah, it's going to be nice to not have to run playlist activities to get currency to take into the seasonal activity to open up an extra chest and do that over and over and over, and then being capped at how much of the match you can hold, so you can't stay in one playlist and grind out. So it's going to be nice to kind of lose that loop, in my opinion.
All right, next up is weapon crafting, and basically going to streamline this a bit for us. No longer like red borders are going to drop on weapons that are not able to be crafted, and they're going to give us more ways to target focus some deep sight weapons in future seasons, not Season 20. Season 20 is basically going to be about the same that we're seeing now because, they need time to develop these new features. So it's going to be a lot of the same. But Season 21, that's going to change. They're also changing up the currency. So the resonant siphon, the currency you get for dismantling or completing the red border frames was no longer going to be needed. And Lightfall is just going to take Glimmer or Legendary Shards, Ascended Alloy is the main consumables it's going to cost. Next up, we're trying to bring challenge back to Destiny. So the latest heist in season that we are now and wrapping up, you was always 5 under the enemy which was pretty nice. So they're continuing that in seasonal activities, and also kind of touching on that to the Vanguard Ops playlist. They think -5 is a little too much for as casual as Vanguard Ops is, but they are going to be experimenting with that in the seasons moving forward. Ability is a little hot, and this is part of power creep, and there's a long discussion here of like nerfing us comparing to buffing enemies, and like they don't want to just make every enemy able to one-shot you, and also they don't want to make them sponges, how much DPS we have to put into them. So look at that as looking at how high our abilities are up, so they're bringing that down. We mentioned that the other week. Basically tier 10 cooldowns are going to be where tier 8 is currently, and it's going to scale up a little bit easier.
I would kind of rather them do this than make everybody flinch you, because it's like the Vandals, whenever they start shooting at you and you just start getting flinched off every shot, like especially whenever you're trying to level up a sniper or something and you're trying to get kills with your sniper and you're getting flinched every time you go to push your mouse button down. It's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, and
man, it's the worst. Like in what, grasp of avarice, where you're sitting in a well invincible and yet it still flinches you, and you're trying to get headshots on that boss. Oh man.
Yeah, so flinch, nobody really likes that. But speaking of reducing flinch, usually you put your resilience up, and right now at tier 10 resilience you get 40% reduction in damage taken. That tier 10 is now going to be 30. So that's another way they're kind of just evening out how strong we are in the game right now and bringing that down. All right, next up, Crucible, and basically they brought the fire team matchmaking in, so there's gonna be less solo playlists, and it's gonna be more fire team based along with skill based, and very like loose-ish skill. The skill base is going to be there, and the connection base is going to be trying to be improved on in the seasons moving forward, because they know how terrible it is. Like a game is unfun, even if you're getting some kills, but the enemy is lagging across the map. All right, exotic mission rotators. They're going to bring some exotic missions back to Destiny, and this is awesome because exotic missions are kind of some of the best stuff that they put out in the game, and they kind of go away as of right now, the way the seasonal scheduling works. So in season, I think this is, season 22, they'll be adding the exotic mission rotator. So they're bringing back Presage, Vox Obscura, and Operation Seraph Shield for that season 22. So there's still hope out there for bringing back Whisper, 0 Hour, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun to bring those back.
Hopefully they keep the Hawkmoon one. That one was not fun.
I do see that one probably coming back too, since it's now since we did those and we got the weapons, we got the catalysts. What did they put in those for players like us, or they're just not for us? So for
not
people
for us.
Okay.
It's for people that complain that they bought content and it's been taken away. That's who it's for.
Okay. So even if they put an ornament in there, or it would have to be a weapon ornament for me to really care about it, right?
What would that weapon ornament have to look like for you to go through and do that?
Something new. It just look cool.
I mean, even if it was an ornament for the exotic that was from the mission, that'd be neat. But I think having that instead of Vox or Presage, Vox Obscura, I would much rather have a rotating where every week at least it's different. The having to do Vox every week for 6 weeks
for a year.
Season, my gosh, for a year.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, if it became a pinnacle source where it's every week it's a new one and it's still a pinnacle, that's totally fine. It's oh man. But yeah, no, an exotic ornament tied to it the first time it comes back into the rotation for just the exotic that came out of it would be cool. But
They would have to add multiple catalysts. Like catalyst, you can go back in, kind of how they did with the new one.
The revision.
Yeah. So that would be the
make
only
it
thing that
craftable?
would.
Okay.
All right. Well.
Yeah, if I could get a craftable DMT.
Okay.
I'm sure everybody thinks the same thing.
Okay. Sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the DMT. So.
All right. Next up is refreshing some strikes. So Lake of Shadows and Arms Dealer is going to be getting a rework to kind of bring them up to the level of some other newer strikes. This is the opposite direction of what I want Bungie to go, but here we are. They are also removing Exodus Crash and Inverted Spire from the Vanguard Ops playlist. It will now only be a selectable strike on those planets. I'm sorry, but do you all like Lightblade and Birthplace of the Vile?
No. Takes too long.
Yeah.
I want strikes to be 5 to 7 minutes. Like in and out.
Yeah. Man, doing this just for make Grandmasters a little bit more difficult?
I mean, I think both of those had lots of story elements that were important, but similar to Corrupted, they're just extended in length compared to other strikes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Like, you could make the story version that you do like during the campaign longer than the regular strike, but I don't know. I mean, they are significantly, since Corrupted, story-based strikes are significantly longer than typical than we're used to initially anyway. But Lake of Shadows is just fast.
Is Inverted Spire the one where you fight the big Atheon?
Yeah, with Swoltheon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so pretty much what they did was any boss that's not damage gated, they decided to change.
Yeah. So
cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. So also the heist battlegrounds that we've had this season will be moving to the Vanguard Ops playlist, and the one from Mars will be a part of the Nightfall rotator in next season. So that's going to be a doozy when it comes to GMs, and depending on how they rework ad spawns, it can be a headache. And I'm really seeing that, the Ursa Furiosa chaining supers, Phoenix Protocol chaining wells, like that is probably going to have to come back for that Grandmaster, I think, the way I see it.
Yeah, because they cranked the enemy density up in those. That was kind of when they first started doing that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, next up, Connecting Guardians. So basically, as of now, everybody's an automatic opt-out of game text chat. That is now going to flip in Lightfall. Everybody's going to be automatically opted in, and you have to manually opt out if you don't want to be called out for not catching the ball in Corrupted. So, yeah. So I think overall it's a good thing to have that so everybody can see in game. I do wish that sometimes you can message the other team in Crucible. I think it would make it a lot funner in the game to start having some more heated rivalries in the game besides just teabagging. But what do you all think?
I think teabagging is sexual assault now, so I'd be careful doing that if I were you. I grew up in like whenever you talk to the other team after games, so I'm cool with text chat. I don't know how well it works on consoles at this point. It looked like you hit a button, then hit like Y to pull up the keyboard, and so if you really call somebody out for not catching a ball in Corrupted, then they're going to be standing still for the next 90 seconds, like insulting you.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, along with communicating to the other people, Fire Team Finder, well, that's coming a little bit later is now eyeing season 22 in Destiny because Bungie just admitting like it's a lot more difficult than they thought what it's going to be, and they don't want it to launch half baked. And they didn't say half baked, but that's clearly what's coming across here. They don't want that to happen through LFG. That's actually going to be used in game.
Well, at least they were able to use the beta for since the game came out for their raid group finder,
Mm-hmm.
So that's a plus. The one where you can join another clan if you're like a solo player.
Yeah.
Guided games. Yeah. So luckily that's been beta tested for the last 4 years. So they should have it about worked out by now.
I feel like for that guided games to succeed, you should have never locked people out of trying to find one that was already in a clan.
Right.
But here we are. All right, so I feel like that's a decent summary of what Joe had to say in the state of Destiny. Moving on, we're going to talk about enhancing weapon crafting and kind of just give you a couple highlights here. We already talked about the deep sight changed and how that's going to be happening next season. But the biggest thing here is like they went more in depth of how you're going to be leveling up the adept raid weapons. So that won't be able to happen until a few weeks after the master raid launches, but it will be retroactive to all your weapons that you get. That is the new Lightfall adept weapons. So what's going to happen there, you're going to get the weapon. It's going to have level 1. And whatever perks that's on it, on columns 3 and 4, all of the perks on that weapon, but you can level up the weapon and make those perks enhanced. Columns 1 and 2, the mag and barrel for the most part, after so many levels, you're going to be able to just pick the barrel or pick the mag that you want on that weapon. So the god roll is a lot easier to achieve because you'll be able to select your barrel and mag. So,
cool.
Yep, and then there's going to be a new mod that's going to come out that's going to help you level up your weapon faster and a more effective manner. And then even in the future, you're going to be able to level up your weapons with currency. That's like Glimmer, Legendary Shards, and maybe something else just straight leveled up without having to use it and like do so many playlist activities to try to level it up, go to Surachi. You can just straight pay for it, and that's great. All right, now it's time for the TWAB. So, man, the TWAB is kind of just giving you some summaries of what we just went over, the Vidoc that's going on, and then it gets into some new stuff in the Bungie store. And this Steel series, you have this headset, there's a mouse pad, there's controller joysticks, and a mouse. This stuff looks really cool. And if you want to pay for it, it's going to cost a pretty penny or two. It's $400 US to get it all. The mouse pad, the one probably that interests me the most, was $80. So I know shipping, handling, and tax, it can be closer to $100 by the time it gets to me. But man, it has some RGB on it. I think it's only going to cycle between two colors, but the stuff looks really awesome.
Yeah, and I can speak. I had my last Xbox headset that I had was like the Steel Series, Arctis Steel 9X or something. It was like the one that was designed for Xbox, and it was a really nice headset. It had a pretty decent mic on it. The sound was good. I have a giant head, size 8 cap, first team all skull.
8 game.
So yeah. So just letting you know, even with my giant head, the headset was comfortable, and I believe that this is like a somewhat of like a similar build for it. So I give it 1.5 thumbs up.
I know nothing about Steel Series whatsoever. But the joystick little things look pretty cool.
Yeah, so there's you folks that still use controllers, like so much for inclusion. They didn't put like any keys out there that you can take and put onto your keyboard or anything like that, or like mouse button covers or something, like, come on. All right, Next up, the cutscene that happened on Tuesday. And man, what a cutscene. I think, Bungie put in a little extra time with this cutscene. I felt like some of the animation and the faces and the textures was a level up from what I remember being most cutscenes. I mean, cutscene was still 30 frames, but other than that, like, the quality was better.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Agreed. Chad, I'll let you.
Great.
I'm sure you have way more thoughts than I do on it.
I
have one question.
Have
Let me ask you a question. Did you get emotional?
I mean, from the beginning of Tuesdays, talking to Anna and watching her have her conversation with Big Red, I was teary eyed the whole time. I may have been going through that mission, doing a little wiping of the eyes every once in a while, because that space dust, it gets in your face and you gotta wipe it out of there. And
the old diamond.
I saw Aramis and I gave her one of these, real quick, just watching you, and I tried to kill her. And I'm like, I know they're not gonna let me, but I'm gonna try real hard.
Get a lot of help.
She ran away. And I'm like, I know you just ran away. But that cutscene, man, I because I didn't spoil anything, I had one of my homies, good old Fred, at work. So I'd always be talking. I'm like, hey, I think Red's gonna die. I think Red's gonna die. And he just look at me, have you spoiled yourself yet? I'm like, no. But he's throwing up death flags, dog. Mm-hmm. He's saying goodbyes to people. I don't like it. He's asking Osiris to share stories about his son. I don't like it. And he's like, every time we talk about it, did you spoil yourself yet? No. And then I text him. It's like 6:00. The cutscene's over. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I am crying. I sad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And oh man. But seeing the fleet rolling through, you could see Kalish's ship in the back, the one that lands on Neptune.
Yeah.
It looked like it was that flat one. Mm-hmm. You could see that back there. But holy moly, it was good. And the throwback was really got me, because I'm like, that looks really familiar. I'm like, that looks really cool. And then like you look at the director and you're like, yeah, that like it looks like the director. And then it wasn't until like the next morning where I'm reading posts, because I'm like, finally I can look at these spoiler posts. And then someone's like, hey, look, this is the art from the teaser art for Destiny 1. And I'm like, oh no, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
Even with the little light trails underneath the Traveler and everything. It was so cool, man. It was great.
So I mean, obviously this is the death of the war mind. This is the Traveler just like, all right, bring it on, Pyramids. I beat you once, I'm going to do it again. And that just leads us into Lightfall, and I imagine the first 1 or 2 scenes of Lightfall is going to be something probably going to go bad with the Traveler on our end. But Chad, I mean, are we stepping on Lord this week, or is like what are we thinking that's the next couple steps here of like the airspace war or whatever that's going on?
It's tough because since the collector's edition came out, and they are revealing so much of what's going on in the story for Lightfall and Neomuna, and then now we know Season of Defiance that's happening on Earth. We don't really have to have speculation, so I can happily just go into the lore from the collector's edition, since it's basically all past stuff, like we'll get into with LC later. But like they're kind of putting a lot of the stuff that they need to out there. We know we're going to Neptune. We know we're going to meet the Cloud Striders. We know we're going to unlock Strand there. And then the seasonal stuff is bringing us back to Earth on defense for the Traveler, since the fleet's going to be pretty much there. I think in some of the pictures, they have pictures of pyramid scales and stuff on Earth, like on Earth, like in the EDZ and stuff. So not much to speculate there. We kind of know what's happening, but as far as the raid goes, we know now-ish it's on Neptune.
Oh,
But we
we
don't.
know exactly where it is. Where it starts at, anyways.
Yeah, where it starts at, but we
Yeah.
don't know. Like just like in the Savathun one, we figured we're going into a pyramid, but going actually into the zone was like, whoa, this is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see what we get in our heads into there. But yeah, no, this week's just going to be finishing off the collector's edition, or
Okay.
Hopefully,
the rest of this.
So your boy Rasputin told us that the Neomuna or is the home of the Vel, right?
Yep, he
And
did.
we've been seeing the Vel statues for
Since
3 years.
since Shadowkeep. So yeah.
Yeah, because like the Garden of Salvation raid, there was one like when you drop down in the pyramid, and then there was one in the Deep Stone Crypt raid.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever you get your Beyond Light powers, you go and like commune with it. So I hope that they do something cool with that, but I imagine that will be drawn out a bit. So we did have one mailbag question. I feel like it's appropriate to ask it now. It says, Crow was looking awful sus on the rooftop during the cutscene this week. Is he going to stab us in the back?
No. I think at this point he knew that the Traveler was going up. I think he's just watching it.
Getting a good view.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, he is the speaker, right? We think.
Yeah, but I understand. I understand that feeling of like you can't really ever really trust Crow because it's still Aldrin's face. You know.
And he's always like standing around a corner, being
Mhm.
quiet, listening to
Yeah.
other conversations. So I feel like they're setting him up. I feel like they're setting him up to stab us in the back.
No, but it's interesting. I feel like in that cutscene, there was two characters that we was involved with over the last year that wasn't in the cutscene, and that's the Drifter and Mara. I understand Mara being not on Earth or really watching this, but the Drifter should have been around. So I think that's awful sus that he is not. He wasn't involved in this. All right, a couple more things in the TWAB here before we talk about the Vidoc. Void Glaive is going to be the ritual weapon next season with the perks repulsing Aegis and destabilizing rounds. And of course, it's also going to have the 3 ornaments that you can go get from Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit.
And they look rad.
Yeah, I think this is like the first time that the original skin looks the best. Now I think y'all might differ from me, but a lot of times the original skin just like pretty plain. But this having like Mara's like colors on it, that purple and gold, and that glaive looking that blade looking good. All right, next up is boosting, and I think this is I think Fox needs to take this, and then tell us about it.
All right, so there are going to be 2 boosts that are available. The first one is the Lightfall character boost, and this appears like on the character select screen is kind of what I interpret it to be. It appears when you hit the soft cap with one character, but have not completed Lightfall. This boost provides the selected character with a set of high power level gear. This boost does not skip the campaign. So essentially, if you, I remember we reached like the soft cap at the end of the campaign on our mains in the Witch Queen. So what this would do is we could start, say like we get to that point, and for whatever reason we can't finish the campaign. We are then able to load up our Titan or our secondary character, purchase this boost, and it automatically puts them. It gives them the high power level gear to start like their campaign on. So could be beneficial in like if you're rushing to get to power, like max power. So I will probably have to see how that plays out. The second boost is the Lightfall campaign skip boost. So this appears after you complete Lightfall on one character. You are then able on a separate character to skip the campaign for your selected character, and it unlocks Strand. So I took that to mean it unlocks like all the abilities that go with it, fragments and aspects, yada yada yada. And number 3, this only includes a set of high power level gear if your main character has hit the soft cap. So if your main character, you still have to level that main character up to get the most out of this boost. So they go into it a little more, and they say that if you use the campaign skip boost, you don't get the items that you get throughout the campaign. So a lot of times, like you'll get to choose an exotic at the end of a campaign or something like that. So you will not get that with this boost. So the internet is all ablaze at the moment because this is something the community has been asking for some relief of grind on, and they finally provide it, and it's going to cost money. My view had been pretty vocal about for the last 100 episodes of this show. I don't care to spend money on the game because I get way more than my $100 a year of enjoyment out of the game. So I don't care to throw $20 or $30 extra a season or whatever towards silver and those type of things. I probably, unless I might do it on my third character, the first two, I'll definitely play through. I've already got the time off of work. Chad and I will be playing together. So if it doesn't do me any good not to do it and me sit and not be able to play with Chad those days. So that's kind of my thoughts.
It all depends on the price for me. You know, it's playing the initial playthrough is going to be on Legend, and usually the other two playthroughs are just on the normal mode just to get through it and get it done. So if it's $5, maybe even $10, you know, my time is worth money. So like I could spend that time doing something else in the game besides playing the campaign for the third time, which I've clearly already done and know how to do. So it's at
so $10 is your max.
Yeah, because at that point you're saving me 4 hours, probably. Playing through the campaign on normal is probably 4 hours.
Oh no, it'll be closer to 8.
Oh, okay.
On normal, 5 to 6 tops on normal. Just rushing through it when you know it.
Sounds like a good bet.
Nah.
So either way, I haven't decided if I think it's going to be 10 for the character and 15 for the campaign, or 15 and 20. That's kind of.
I think those are way too much.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Way too much. Do you think there'll be a bright dust option, or is this silver only?
Silver only, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe the next season they offer a bright dust option, or it becomes reduced. Mm-hmm. Like for the people that buy it later, and they'll market it as, we hear your feedback, and this will let your friends be able to get to play with you faster. That's how they'll market it. But yeah, it's a cash grab.
All right. Now it's time to talk about the Vidoc. So this Vidoc is kind of a big summary of stuff Bungie's been telling us over the last 2.5 weeks, and seeing it in action, heard it actually from the devs, does put a new spin on it. For me, I kind of feel saturated by so much news that's kind of been coming out and trying to consume it all. I feel like there's like whatever knob Bungie turns from, like giving us zero information and all of a sudden giving us a whole bunch. They're just doing the extremes as of right now, and I'll take this extreme over giving me nothing. So in this Vidoc, we get to see Callus in his final form, a little more of more of the Witness, some more Strand hitting and going. Osiris, and there's only like maybe a second of the scene, but Osiris playing with the Strand cubes like he did on Mars with the time. So I think that was really cool. So I really hope that Osiris does get to use Strand. That would be cool. Ronan and Nimbus. What are they were going to be the Neonuma Guardians. What's their actual name, Chad?
Cloud Striders.
Cloud Striders. Yeah. So Rohan,
That's so lame. That's like straight out of 1996. That would be what they would be called.
Well, it is supposed to be based on like the futuristic 1980s or something like that. So so Rohan is the older one, and Nimbus is the younger, cocky, all go lucky one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Some of the dialogue they throw in with those two. We got some sneak peeks at build crafting and mods, the Tormentors, and finally the opening scene to what we can only assume to be the Lightfall raid. So what got you excited the most watching the Vidoc?
Callus.
I can see Ryan. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
there it is.
definitely
Callus in
Callus.
his golden skin.
He came out and he's, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something like, my inner beauty is being shown on the outside or something. So
Something like that.
it makes me a little disappointed that Callus had body issues, you know? So I kind of thought he was above that with all his power and opulence. So hearing that, I did think a little less of him, but it is, yeah, man, it was cool seeing him coming out, and like Callus definitely has a style. It's not a style that would work for a lot of people or a lot of beasts or creatures, but it works for Callus. So
I don't think it was body dysmorphia issues, Ryan. I think that his mortal body could not physically exude the amount of beauty he was as an existence.
I like that spin zone.
It was sheer confidence. It was the exact opposite. He's like, I'm so beautiful, and no one can see that, and I don't understand why. And now he's like, now everyone can see that I am beautiful. It's like, all right, man.
I like that. I like that spin zone.
Yeah. I think some of my favorites were seeing some of the weapons. Like we saw the auto rifle that has the hatchling perk, whatever that means, in the mod screen. We saw a heavy wave frame grenade launcher, which was wild. Like that looks like it's gonna be amazing and just a ton of fun. That opens up a lot of possibilities for an Arc exotic grenade launcher if they're adding wave frames. And then you saw a Arc breach load with volt shot. So every single grenade is gonna have volt shot as long as you get a kill on one of them. So like we're seeing some cool weapons, and it's exciting to see some new stuff coming out finally, some new combinations of perks. Callus's majestic in otherworldly beautiful form finally, with jewelry on every digit. The Witness too, seeing the Witness and all the glass cracking and all that kind of stuff is really neat. But yeah, no, it's lots of cool, more looks at Tormentors and stuff. It's just good to see more pictures of things so we can see more angles of it.
You think the Witness, do you think he stinks? Like, to me, with all that stuff coming off of him, he just looks like he stinks.
You know what? I think you'll get close enough to smell them eventually.
Yeah, I imagine being quite musty.
He just smells damp.
Yeah.
like
like a towel that never fully gets dry because you shower so often with it. For me,
or he smells like a house that uses like wood burning stoves, just with all the smoke. I can't quite figure out what he would smell like, but he looks like he smells like cigarettes. So,
Ronan and Nimbus and that way that Bungie's probably going to make us very attached to them, and there's no way both of them make it out of Lightfall alive. So one of their faces got to be going up on that mural on the wall of looks like to be past Cloud Striders that have served their time and passed on. So it's probably going to be Ronan because he's the older guy. He's too old for this shit and he's ready to move on. So he's probably get got saving Nimbus. So just calling that now.
Do you think that like what's the clan girl Hawthorne?
Yeah.
Do you think like she might become a Cloud Strider or something?
If she was, I feel like she would have been involved in some of this like showing.
Like kind of like get her character
Yeah.
kind of built up a little.
I think her character is involved in Defiance with along with Crow.
Yeah, so we
or
did.
not Hawthorne. Sorry, I'm thinking of the other. I'm thinking of Sparrow Lady.
Yeah, that's Hawthorne.
Mm.
Yeah, but Devron's going to be involved next season, so that's going to be nice. He finally leaving the watchtower. So
How many sniper bullets you think that dude's fired?
oh man, I mean he's got to be up there competing with Chad's Midnight Coup.
Yeesh, that's a lot.
All right, so overall, let's give a grade to the Vidoc of what we thought it was. To me, I'm going to say it's an 88. It's not much more you could do at this point to make me excited for Lightfall, and it just kind of pretty much confirmed that it's going to be a great expansion, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be OutStranding.
Ugh.
Can you get all those out of your system now? I'd appreciate it. I can't strand it when you do that. I would say I'm gonna give it I'm gonna sound like a hater. I'm gonna give it a 68.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Shy.
and this is kind of a they've been so successful in the past and they always put out such fire on everything that I feel like this one just didn't bring it. Saying that, if you keep up with any other game online, this beats any sort of marketing thing that they do for it. So I think in overall video game land, this was very good. In Bungie, because they've been so good in the past, it's hard to keep that standard. And I feel like they were below their standard on this one.
I'm gonna go with a solid 73. I think I'm in the line with where Ryan's thinking, but I'm still too excited about stuff. And I know that's leaning me more towards the positive than the other way. But seeing new things like new perks on weapons we didn't expect, like I said, the heavy wave frames, that didn't think that would happen. So that was cool. So that's putting me more into like the C's get degrees range there for passing.
It's conveniently just dead halfway almost, but never mind. Not quite halfway. All right, so next brings up our 3 likes and dislikes from the past week of Destiny, including some of this dialogue and everything else we're getting from Bungie. So for me, my like is going to be we're getting strained weapons out of the gate. So like I remember back when Beyond Light launched, like the only stasis weapons we had was exotics, and we didn't even get just like legendary stasis weapons for like a couple seasons. So we already know that we're getting something. Like there's a strand machine gun that was in there. There is a strand auto rifle, and I think there's another. All we know, we're getting the strand sidearm. So that is great to see that we can already start the build craft if we really want to lean into strand early on and have the weapons to make the orbs and go along with the making ourselves do extra damage.
Right, and I'm drooling over that stasis bow. I like the exotic bows, and a stasis one just rounds it out, and I'm happy about it. It'll be neat to see what it does. The arrow itself is ice, so that's super cool. And it's also Cloud Stridery. Like you can see it in one of the shots. It has that Cloud Strider kind of look to it, that liquid metal kind of look. So it'll I'm just excited to see what it actually does. So we'll see, and I hope I get it. I hope I get it first, and I'm expecting to get it last.
It's the seasonal exotic.
Unless it's a seasonal thing. Oh, perfect. Then I'm expecting to get it last. But it'll be cool to see.
My like is being able to get daily red borders to round out some of the weapons that I need. My dislike is that all of these seasonal activities suck, and trying to figure out the most important ones to grab. So I was going to ask you guys here.
Yeah.
So the first season, like the war table, the one at the front, I have everything there because I did that like as it came out. I believe I have so the one with the crown, like down to the left. So outside of like the Callus mini tool, and I have like Austringer, Drang, and Bump in the Night. Was there anything there that would be important to grab?
The other thing that comes to mind is Beloved. The fact that you can get quick draw snapshot on it as a sniper if you don't care.
PvP though.
It is. So that is just splitting hairs there. The trace rifle. So there's a thing that's kind of going on in Destiny right now.
Denial.
Yeah, where double special weapons produce more heavy weapons, and that trace rifle can get lead for gold in column 3.
Okay. So so then from there we have like the catchcraft, the star chart, right?
Yep.
So there, I know that there wasn't really anything like crazy to get there, right? I know I had like the scout rifle because it could get bolt shot, like tarnished metal, maybe was the name of it.
Yeah.
And I know that was it Cell Spy Pitch Glass. Is that the linear fusion?
Linear,
Yeah. So was there anything? And then I think Blood Feud was the SMG. I think I already had it though. Was there? And then Brigand's Law was the sidearm. Was there anything else in that season that was? I think it was like the most throwaway of all of them, right?
Yeah. I'd say like in that season, like the scout rifle with full shot is like you could do away with all the rest of the weapons and just have that one and you're good.
But then last but not least, in the current season, I know that you want the Ikelos SMG because you can get bolt shot with it. And I think the third column there's not much, but you can get bolt shot on like with that. So that's a grab. I know that there was is it Fire and Forget?
Yeah.
That had some sort of possible perk or something on it, right? That would make it important to get.
Yeah, you can get field prep chill clip. So of course, like you only
so it can do all it could do all champions, right? Like coming up. And then there was the retrofit escapade.
Yeah.
That was one.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there was like the tripwire canary was like a bow but I already have like an arc bow, so I wasn't terribly. I had like the one from Iron Banner way back in the day, Point of the Stag or something.
Yeah.
So so was there anything else? Oh, I've been seeing stuff about this the glaive, the Judgment of Kelgarath.
Yeah.
I think it was Cool Guy that was telling everybody to grab one. Cool Guy, I believe he's on Destiny Massive Breakdowns as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he's like a content creator.
Yeah, he's on firing range.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I saw he's been saying to pick those up. So was there anything out of the ones that were mentioned that would be important for me to get?
So the thing about the glaive, it can get that perk where after you deal damage from the projectile, you do extra melee damage. So there's some pretty great stuff that you can do there. I have been leveling up a glaive passively because of that. I feel like that, and then the trace rifle, that I think it was a sleeper for a long time, and then like YouTube caught onto it, and it's no longer a sleeper.
Is that the path of least resistance?
No, the hollow denial. Now, path of least resistance.
The path of least resistance is the one from the Crown of Sorrow, right?
No, you got it flipped. Path is the new one. Hollow is the older one. Path is really good at ad clear though too. It can't get lead for gold, so it's kind of just like they're both like trace rifles, so you can build into them the way you want.
Right. So that's been my dislike, is trying to get on every day and then run like 3 of whichever seasonal activity I'm trying to get. And I don't know, man. I'm kind of at the point I'm like, what are the odds that I'm really going to use this or need this? Like so that's kind of where I'm at. So that's been it's been something to do, but it's kind of tedious, and I can only do so many nightmare containments or whatever those things are called.
Yeah, I understand that. My dislike is going to be we just haven't all been on same time to do corrupted, and I guess it's just kind of just what kind of happens towards like the end of the season. We don't play at the same times because we jump on to get our couple things done and probably see that the other one's on, and then we kind of just all right, going on to bed, and then Chad jumps on probably like 15 minutes after I get done. So it's just we're in this loop.
Yeah, it sucks, man. I'm heading home and I see Jared's on, and I'm like, oh no, I gotta get home soon.
Yeah. Yep.
By the time I'm out of the shower, he's off, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's too late. Now my dislike is my boy Big Red. Like I said earlier, I'm not ashamed. I cried. I cried. I had tears, multiple tears, not just one, multiple tears happening. Anyone that's been a fan of this podcast for longer than 3 podcasts has heard me talk about Rasputin at least once. And especially over the last year, I've been saying there's going to be a Rasputin season. There's going to like him and Siva and his whole story and backstory with the Iron Lords and everything has been just amazing for me. Like Rasputin as a character has been great. Having the character building this season has been awesome, but also scary because I'm like they're giving me a lot of info on this guy now. They're wrapping up a lot of stories. They're tying some things on with some bows, and I don't like it. Having him be like, you know what? My job is to guard humanity, and the way to do that is to sacrifice myself and the war sats. I was proud and very sad for my boy. But we'll read his final poem next week and the missive that he left for Anna. But holy moly, that moment made me so sad when she unplugged him, and I was like, sad. Just lots of sad.
Will you like set the mood and play like a drum and read it like a slam poem for the video?
It is an iambic pentameter this time, so I'll read it a couple times like out loud and try to see what kind of rhythm I can do it. Yeah, no, we didn't do it that way this time, so I was surprised. I was happy about it that it was a different tempo, but I gotta read it out multiple times to see how it feels before I dim the lights and just
light a few candles.
Do some snaps.
Yeah, I think we should do away with the Rasputin strike now. That's on the Cosmodrome.
No, that's an easy one, dude.
The one with the shank at the end?
Yeah,
that's a fast one.
I know it's a fast one, but like it's no point of it now because Rasputin's officially dead.
Well, I mean, we still have Cade talking in Inverted Spire.
Doesn't Cade talk to us in one of them?
Yeah, and
they're getting rid of it. They're gonna. That's when they're reprising, right?
They're currently moving that one off the Vanguard Ops playlist, And then the redoing the Cabal one. Why did I forget the name?
Arms dealer.
Arms dealer. So that probably might take some of the dialogue away.
Another banger. Another banger.
Yeah.
All the good strikes
You
there.
can literally just bang him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the ones that like I enjoy the most. I think Arms Dealer was our first GM completion.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's it for 3 likes, dislikes. No weapons breakdown. Game in the corner. Still, we're waiting to do that final corrupted. So Fox will officially get his winnings, and then it takes us to lore. And Chad, what's going on?
Oh boy. Like I said before, we're gonna save Rasputin for next week to close out the season. And we're going into the Lightfall Collector's Edition Elsie Bray book. Splitting that into 2 because it is very long, just like the other 2. And it starts out. We're going back in time to when just after the Quicksilver Storm, where she met Puka the fish, and the ghost, and get into it. It says it was a small ship, and by hope more than reality, a quiet one. She had intended it for just herself and perhaps Anna. If things went well this time around, Elsie could deal with the chaos that her little sister injected into her life. But today, chaos took the form of a curious ghost, not grasping the concept of keeping things in their proper place. Toki, Elsie sighed, brushing the phase couplers back into their labeled bin and securing it. You cannot just rifle through my workbench. Some of this equipment is dangerous. I checked the labels very carefully, Miss Bray. The ghost poked her gleaming eye out from under a spare length of photovoltaic cloth. Capacitors, couplers, and oscillators decorating her shell in a tasteful pattern. But I needed new components. You took apart my old shell. Because your old shell was made from unstable nanomachines. It could have eaten you. Well, perhaps. But I still can't float around. She lowered her tone to a scandalous whisper. Naked? Elsie supposed it made sense, and sighed again. Modesty. Shouldn't mean much to metal skin, but she still wore clothing centuries after her old exo conversion. Many days, her own presentation, her emotions, her volume, gestures, and yes, even her clothing, was the fulcrum on which her self-control pivoted. You still shouldn't make a mess of other people's things, she finally relented. I may need these parts for repairs. I only took the broken things. Toki spun in front of a porthole, admiring her reflection. You don't seem like the type to collect broken things. Elsie prepared to double down, but her train of thought derailed as she looked up to see her surreal alien passenger slither its way into the compartment. Cutting through the air like a beta fish's grace, the alien examined Toki's scraps and parts with 6 glittering eyes. Elsie felt wonder and discomfort creep into her as she watched. The alien fish, for lack of the better word, had lived alone on that abandoned Ishtar space station beyond Uranus for who knows how long before Toki found it. And Elsie, in time, discovered Toki. Elsie assumed a human had brought the fish. After all, the station had shown signs of habitation in the last decade or so by someone human, or at least close enough to it. The uncertainty ate at her because she knew that everything about her future, her fate, demanded understanding all possible influences in the coming conflict. She convinced herself that only victory could break her free of this hellish time loops. Whatever that meant, the grand victory against the Pyramid Fleet or the personal victory of saving her sister, she wasn't sure. But uncertainty, that was the fly in her ointment. And she was certain nothing when it came to Toki's strange friend. Elsie sat, and tension in her servos began to slacken. Exos didn't breathe, but a long exhale was as good for the mechanical souls as the organic. An electronic tittering brought her back into the moment. Toki swiped her fins up, and the eel-like alien followed her movements, turning a loop in the air. The ghost swept her gaze back and forth, and again the creature followed, rolling left, then right. A thought suddenly occurred to Elsie. Toki, did you teach your friend these tricks? Toki turned a barrel roll and laughed as her companion followed. No, it just knew all this when I found it. Leaning in close, Elsie reached toward the fish, and the creature dutifully slid into her palm. She turned the form over then again, digital eyes scanning every detail of the silicate body. Below the head, she found a word etched in the same careful hand that had inscribed the destroyed weapon that found near the creature's nest. Puka. Like the fairy? Is that your name or your species? I think it's a lovely name, Toki offered. Puka only rubbed its face into Elsie's waiting hand, demanding attention. You were a pet. Elsie gave the shiny carapace a scratch, triggering a wave of hers? Puka's 6 eyes focused independently up at her and glittered. Someone taught you these tricks and then left you isolation. Do not mourn your sister's abandonment, Elizabeth. They are small minds. I know grandfather's words make sense, but that doesn't sate the hollowness gnawing inside my chest. I set the stylus down, plant my hands against the desk, and take a long, ragged breath of recycled air to silence the scream I need to unleash. The feeling passes. I retrieve the tool and return to business as usual in the lonely European lab. I am in control, even though I know that changes nothing. Elsie gasped and stared. Did someone teach that trick to you? Puka tilted its eyes around clockwise, then counter. Without Toki and her off-key humming, the ship felt emptier. Puka had chosen to stay behind, had chosen Elsie. For reasons that escaped her, the alien's background noise filled in some of the gaps left in Toki's absence. But it didn't seem like enough to overcome the lonely thrum and ring of the engines. Get off that, fish. It was remarkable how quickly the alien became obnoxious, especially when upending Toki's treasure canister the minute Elsie left the curious beast unattended. She shooed the slithering creature away and lost. I still know my partner is out there. I can feel us moving away from them. Toki comments. I'm an idiot for expecting a ghost to stay anywhere but their guardian's side for long, but this stop on Titan to replenish the deuterium tank was supposed to be simple. Toki's goodbye blindsides. Stop that, Elsie exclaimed and shoved Puka aside to tidy the mess once again. Each etched diode and bit of cowling landed her harder than necessary in the old ration canister. Puka retreated to one of the upper lockers and huffed, with sounds that could have been sadness or anger. My head is messed up enough without you digging around in there to win an argument. She felt silly lecturing an alien being like Mother once lectured her Pomeranian. If the creature understood, the 6 glassy eyes betrayed nothing. Elsie pressed the tension lid closed again. I'm sorry. Loneliness. You can make jewelry with them, or give them to friends? Toki, I don't want your garbage. I just don't want you to feel bad. Where I'm going will be very dangerous. You leaving is best for both of us. I understand why you need to say that. Puka chirped, now pushing into Elsie's hands and turned its gaze away to Toki's treasure canister. Fondness. I turn over the bolt stops in my hand. The laser-carved loops and swirls lends the ceramic an organic grace. I'll admit it, you're pretty good at this, you little troublemaker. It cooed and recoiled. Guilt. Toki refuses to speak, and maybe I realize I deserve it this time. No, fish, you need to... Rejection. No. I'll torture me. Ma feiusi. Elsie, say it's not you. Say it's not. Say he hasn't locked you up in that walking lazaretto to die. I feel my mother's horror at the sight of me as a pressure, a stage instruction more than an emotion. Mom, please. Je vais bien. Je ne sais pas comment mon père. Inshallah. Stop. Elsie's legs gave out and her body shook here in the floor when she landed hard. Puka shrieked and wrapped itself behind the discarded tin of treasures. How dare you? She struggled to her feet and the world spun. With 3 gentle steps she felt her vision settle, felt the cool, firm steel of the deck beneath her and the gentle thrum of the ship's vibration up through her ankles, her knees, and into her chest. And in the wake of peace, the sorrow bubbled up. Elsie wasn't sure how long she had cried. The dry, mechanical sobs of her inorganic frame were timeless, a mimeograph of grief. But in the end, she found herself propped up back against the bulkhead and letting the thrum in the ship serve as her ersatz heartbeat. Her companion wiggled under her arms and looked up. She sensed a faintness, a wisp of connection like smoke in her peripheral vision. Concern. Last drops of rain passed by, but I didn't notice anything beyond the ladybug toppled by the rain spout. The stillness of it, as Willa takes it in her hand. Finally it kicks and rights itself. I squeal. Elsie focused. I thought you were dredging these up, but you're not, are you? She considered her own question and rubbed the creature's cheek. Well, passed for a cheek. With her thumb, she lifted Puka to her face. Something pressed at her mind beyond the creature's vague look of confusion, a familiar contour, emotion, begging for context. Satisfaction. Satisfaction. The sparrow's engine shudders and spews steam before finally buzzing to life. It drifts lazily off the blocks, and I can't stop smiling, even though I know it's the goofiest grin. You're shaping whatever you feel, she mused, and her mind drifted back to warm beaches with Willa and Alton, their tiny footsteps slowly filling the saline with the warm, wet sand. Nature abhors a vacuum, and my heart fills it up. That could be dangerous, she realizes. Puka chittered happily as Elsie began stroking the silicate head. But you wouldn't be someone's pet if you were dangerous, would you? Elsie's mind wandered back to the lonely space station where she found the curious creature, of the enormous human handprint left behind in the titanic rifle that Toki had scavenged to dress herself. So why does the person who needs a giant gun also keep a little psychic fish that makes you feel memories? Elsie planted her feet apart again and braced herself. One more time. Evolution kit-bashed the human mind, rebuilding arboreal rodents foraging for nuts into screaming, tailless apes at the helms of starships. But for all the miracles it performed, the Pleistocene hardware of the brain was bound by its physical limits. Memories were nothing but pathways of nerve impulse, stored as electric signals dancing across them in recall, and atrophied by neglect. Even without considerations of size, the sapient mind could only think about so much in a given day, limiting the span of human experience to perhaps a few hundred years. The dirty secret for those who survived the collapse is that none of them, from Drunken Exo to Celestial Queen, remembered every detail. They remembered moments, minutes, hours, whatever left deep enough scars that they couldn't help but run the fingers of the mind across them every morning. Neglect rendered everything in between weeks, years, decades into murky depths explored by only bare books on the thinnest emotional filaments. Elsie's time loops compounded the problem. Her head locked away an order of magnitude more memories than any living human, and each plunge backward through causality blurred those details. Like jolting from a night terror, only the final moments stood out in sharp relief each time she restarted. Untangling the mess of cause and effect, sorting where she went right and what needed to change. It ate away at her precious few decades before everything collapsed and she would begin the process anew. Any tool that let her trawl memories from that lost place, even at random, was a tool worth mastering. Elsie set her feet apart, and the ship's thrum rise through her body again. They had dabbled with a dozen emotions that helped her dive into her previous loops, through lines on which to string lost context. She found that emotions sparked by failure, despair, rage, fear were best for the work, and the worst for her. She thought back to the memory that no amount of resets could hope to scrub, her first memory as an exo, a frail old man unwound like a blanket of organic human chaos laid in tidy lines by precise mechanical hands, and of her own overriding need to end the brutality before she understood she was saving the real monster. Dread filled her. Her companion tasted it and fed it back over and over, one loop of memory after another. Despair. So this is the honor of the Braze. Zavala spits at me. His working hand reaches for Targe, reaches for a connection to his god even though it abandoned him. The ghost lies cold and dark. Cade was right to put a bullet through Anna. I only wish I'd let him end you too. We're past her bravado, I explain as the fire dies in my soul. There's only one step left before this ends. And what is that, stranger? I place the rifle barrel to his forehead. Mercy. Nothing. Despair. I can't let you stop us, Ikora declares with a chill that rocks even me. I feel the pulse on her void shudder in my chest, spilling fluids and triggering dozens of status alarms. Not when we're this close. No. Despair. What have you done? I scream as Marasov's body drops lifelessly to the ground. Elsie, listen to me. This was necessary. The darkness cannot thrive while believers of the light remain. There is a world beyond this conflict. Let's go there together, Anna pleads. This is not the way, I cry and ready my stasis. Stasis. It had a name. That power she felt herself wielding in lives long past. The knife that could cut the darkness. Her mind began to spin, and Elsie consciously planted herself in the present once more. Her sensors registered a hydrocarbon lubricants and distinctive theopolymers of ship life. She pushed away the shape of concern Puka pressed into her soul before it could replace this filament and she'd hunted for. Again. So it looks like she's going to use the psychic fish to delve through her memories of stasis. But it's all these things are for when she first met the fish. So this was a while ago. I don't know. It has to be before Beyond Light because she had the fish behind her like a friend already by then. So I wonder if it was like after we went to the moon, in between that and Beyond Light. But that's my guess.
Yeah, you know, whenever we seen that in Beyond Light, we all like kind of asked some questions and wanted some answers of what the heck was going on with that fish, and you know, took what 2 years to finally get some. So,
Yeah.
They didn't know what was going on with the fish. They hadn't written that far ahead yet. Still had to work it in the story.
I think it was part of the stuff that got cut and extended the grind for stasis. He was in that.
You know, that's a pretty good theory, actually. Man, that grind for stasis was a nightmare.
Yeah. Yep. All right, that's
So, mailbag, right?
Yep.
All right. Good thing it's not Sunday because the mail doesn't run on Sundays. First question. Biggest prediction for Lightfall. I'm going to go last on this one.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Two characters that we either develop and know or already know die.
Now, is this counting the Cloud Striker
Yes.
that you mentioned earlier, Ronan?
Yeah.
Does he count as one?
Yes, he counts as one. I think there'll be another that we lose. And
Okay.
if I'm going to bet somebody, it's going to be somebody that's got to be, yeah, somebody that's in the tower. We'll go miss, but yeah.
Okay. Jeez. I'm gonna bet that someone's gonna go super rogue that we know, but I'm not a betting man, as we know.
So who is it?
I don't know.
All right, somebody changes sides. Okay. All right.
Listen, if they offer me to change sides, like if that was a thing you could do, I would change sides without even having to stop to think about it.
Oh yeah, I would have my warlock
I would
change
go.
sides.
Yeah, I would go so bad. Like I would be just the most evil guardian that there ever was. Like I would be a raid boss. I'd be that bad. Next question. Oh, I didn't answer mine. I think Lightfall is going to be lacking a lot of content. I think that because I saw them bragging that they did this whole thing remote. This entire expansion was done like not in an office. And I think that we'll be able to tell that pretty early on. A lot of it is because I think it's too different from Destiny. I think Strand's gonna just come out real hot, and it's not gonna be received very well, is my question. And then we're gonna do that thing where Bungie's back is up against the wall, and they really have to deliver, and then they'll knock it out of the park with Final Shape. Next question. I assume that this is in regards to the State of Destiny pieces and not like a Mortal Kombat situation. But we have, are you Team Luke Smith or Team Joe Blackburn?
Okay. Man, so Luke Smith was in charge until the launch of Beyond Light?
The last expansion, right?
No, I thought Beyond Light, that's when the changeover happened.
But Witch Queen?
Joe was in charge for all of Witch Queen. But
Yes.
okay. Man, so Luke Smith has Forsaken in his pocket
Yep.
and Scourge of the Past and all that stuff. So I mean that's I look back upon those times probably a little bit fonder than what they actually were. So because I'll go Joe. I'll go Joe because I think I think the newer is better. That the development and what they're changing is better than what they changed back then.
Okay.
It's kind of hard because the newer I think is better, and like I kind of got the nostalgia glasses knocked off of me between like King's Fall and like it just being just absolutely miserable to play through like now.
Mm-hmm.
And even going back before that, like the stuff that I was so excited for them to bring in has been pretty mid. So I feel like with Luke Smith, it has been, we had more content, more things to do, because you think we had like, remember Dreaming City came out of nowhere, like at the end of that. So, but I think that like storytelling and like system wise, the game's has been better with Joe. But I think it's pretty close, but I think I'm a Luke Smith because I'd rather have more content and more frustrating systems than better systems and less content.
Joe.
Okay.
Good talk.
Next question. How do you feel about tubers getting to go to Bungie and get the Lightfall preview?
It's been great. Did you guys get your invite or was it just me?
must have skipped me.
Yeah.
So I don't think they invite people from the Midwest. I think you have to be a coastal elite to be able to visit Bungie.
Paul Tassi went.
Yeah, but he's a coastal elite that lives in Ohio. So
I mean, he went to Michigan and then he moved to Ohio. So I don't think he's ever a coastal boy. But yeah, I see what you mean. He gives off that vibe.
Yeah. Like you can tell he spends a lot of time fixing his hair and stuff. You know what I mean?
To me, this is a good sign that Bungie was confident enough to bring people out. And they kind of started inviting people back to Bungie to maybe one day they invite us. So I think this is I feel good about them inviting people, and I just kind of wish I would have got an invite.
Yeah, same thing. Same thoughts. Same exact thoughts as Jared. I wish I got an invite. I'm sad that we didn't. I'm hoping that more people that are listening currently or watching currently share this with their family and their friends, and that at least one of those 10 people actually cares to continue listening, so that maybe by episode 200 we get invited.
Yeah, we'll be there for the Destiny 3 preview. I'm going to be real honest with you. I don't know who all was invited. The only one that I saw that had content out a few hours ago was my boy Rick Cacus. And whenever I looked, it was probably like 7 or 8 o'clock because I wanted to watch the Vidoc again before we recorded. And his had came out 5 hours before. So it looked like it came out around like 2 or 3. So I don't know if there was like an embargo kind of thing on it. And then I saw Aztec Cross had one out as well, I believe. So I think it's great because those people do a lot to maintain the game, and like they work and their entire life revolves around this game, so they deserve it. But I think it's it makes me nervous because they didn't. This is like the last year has been. I mean, in my opinion, it's been the worst year of Destiny 2. Like since like vanilla D2 was rough, obviously. But I think this was like this and Shadowkeep I would put pretty close together. I know what like it's a damn good thing that they had a legendary campaign because they have been riding on the laurels of that.
Yeah.
You know. So I wish that they would have invited everybody out 6 months ago to do like a summit as opposed to come look at the new stuff because the information that they're getting from those people to improve we won't see for a year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thing. But obviously super jelly that I wasn't out there.
I know Grenader Jake went out there too.
Okay. And see, like, dude, like, I mean, he grinds hours of this game. Like, they deserve it. Like, they're the ones that I would have targeted to go as well. It's not like, not anything like that at all, but it kind of sucks. I just wish it would have been a summit as opposed to the other.
All right, next
All right, next. Go ahead, Jared.
Do you think that we will be familiar with the new raid boss or the final campaign boss? Ooh. So, yes on the campaign boss, no on the raid boss. So I think the campaign for the most part, like it's got to be Callous Witness related, and then whatever the no, I don't think Sifu. Sifu's going to be later on. Sifu's going to outlast this darkness thing with but yeah, and I think the raid boss is going to be like totally new, like something that's like almost like, you know how the Dreaming City came out of nowhere, like the raid boss is going to come out of nowhere.
Okay,
Probably
okay,
right.
I can definitely agree with that. I was thinking that the raid boss would be something new as well. The campaign boss, it might be another Callus goes peekaboo and then runs away at the end, even though we kill something that looked like him, which I'm sure Ryan would be hopeful of. But
I still like to subscribe to the theory that he looks like one of the Monstars before they get their powers. Like that's still my favorite thing. So,
but yeah, I think the raid boss is gonna be new, and I think Callus or somebody working under Callus is gonna be the campaign boss.
do you think it's going to be old Froze girl that's not Froze that we fought?
Aramis.
Yeah.
I feel like Aramis is
Is she gonna be the? I swear to God, if she's the campaign boss, like I'm gonna riot.
Yeah.
If she is,
I think
like I don't want to fight her for 2 campaigns.
She's a seasonal story boss. She is not a campaign story boss again.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. The reprised raid coming halfway through the year is definitely going to be the Leviathan, right? Yeah, probably.
I don't want straight Leviathan again, right? What if it was like Leviathan where you just go through and you do all the boss encounters? Like that's the raid. It's like teleporters.
Boss rush.
Yeah, just you
That'd
go
be
through and you
dope.
do all the bosses in Leviathan. Would that work?
Yeah. So
Could they do that?
well, I mean, it's pretty much how the Leviathan was, except you had to go to the underbelly in between
Yeah.
like encounters to skip the Castellum. But I kind of, I don't know. I guess that they could put like somehow make it to where like after you kill the like the big the guy you had to use the crystals to kill. What was his name? You
Argos.
jump through outer space. Yeah, after you kill Argos, maybe it takes you right into the like a different encounter. You go through it, opens up a portal, and you jump through the portal, and you start like the other raid layer or something. So I don't know, because I think that with Callus being back, that would be something that they could like fit seasonally into do.
Yeah. I think that'd be cool. A boss rush. Other than
Chad,
that, I mean,
you still holding out for Wrath?
I mean, it's gonna be Wrath, so that's fine.
oh, okay. You really think so? I think Crota's more likely than Wrath because like they're just dumping on
No,
Siva.
they did particularly say, something about new dungeon in the last season, and I'm like, does that mean we're getting an old dungeon in the season 22? Is that what you're saying? Which could be Crota's End. But I mean, Wrath of the Machine or Leviathan, I'd be fine with either.
All right. I think that is it. Make sure if you're watching us on YouTube, we are on podcast services, Spotify, iTunes, iHeart, all the other stuff. Follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. I'm going to let these other two guys sign off.
12 days till Lightfall, so get your bounty stacked if you're wanting to do that. And we'll be around at this last week. Adept Wendigo's dropping at GMs. So I'm going to be in there, at least a few times this week, see if I can get one. That's next week, that is. So hit me up.
Get ready for some lore stuff. It gets real deep into that Elsie thing. So it's gonna be fun to listen to.
Go Cats. Love you guys.